Mr. Jelly Roll Baker, let me be your slave. When Gable blows his trumpet and I'll rise from my grave for some of your good jelly roll. Crazy about that good jelly roll. You know it's good for the sick.
Lonnie Johnson was a blues singer and guitarist and, bizarrely, violinist. Apparently, he was probably the first person to play an electrified violin. So in his early career, he toured the UK with the Revue in 1917. When he got back, he teamed up with his brother and started playing concerts. And during the 20s and 30s, he played a lot of concerts and did quite a lot of recordings. In his recordings, he was mostly billed as a singer. This is except for during the Depression, Great Depression in America, when he worked in a steel mill. During that time, he worked with Duke Ellington and Bessie Smith and a whole lot of other people. And he is credited as being the pioneer of the blues guitar solo. There's some technical description of what this means that I won't bore you with, but apparently he was the first person to actually do solos on guitars. Yeah, crazy. There was somebody who originated this idea. Wikipedia even points to the song where it was first done. He wrote songs that predated what I thought was the origins of blues, which was Delta blues, but he wrote songs that were predated Delta blues, and some of his songs were adapted by Robert Johnson for his famous recordings. After the Second World War, he transitioned into R&B and worked on and off as a musician and various other things, and eventually died in 1970, apparently penniless. Elmer Snowden was a banjo player and several other instruments as well, including reed instruments. He was a blues and jazz player and various other styles. He was the original leader of a band called the Washingtons, which was taken over by Duke Ellington later. At one point in the 1920s, there were 5 bands under his name in New York, and he worked prodigiously as a session musician as well. After a while, he slid into obscurity, and in 1959 was found working a normal job, and then was brought back into the limelight, had some success in the 60s, and died in 1973. Hi, my name's Dan. If you know this album, or if you're hearing it for the first time and you've got a reaction, please say something in the comments down here. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Just to say as well that I'm planning a large run of these album reviews, which are covering, from a list that I've got, the 3,000 greatest albums of all time. I'm nearly 50 in, and it's quite a ride so far. So I would encourage you to subscribe wherever the button is and join me on this amazing journey. It's going to take a while, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So this album, and I'm laughing a little bit because this is an odd album, or the origins of it are quite strange. So these two guys, Elmer and Lonnie, were legendary musicians from back in the 1920s and 30s. And you may not have noticed, but this album was 1960. So that was quite a lot later than that. And so there was this guy who was a DJ called Chris Albertson, who discovered Elmer working as a car parking attendant. He bumped into him, and I don't know if he knew him or just got chatting, but worked out who he was. And together, they then tracked down Lonnie, who was working in a hotel, and they created this album. And Chris, the DJ guy, produced the album and presumably was the driving force to make this happen. So it is what it says in the title. It is Blues and Ballads, and the ballads are bluesy ballads. So in this context, a ballad basically means a story song. the music is basically it's blues, and it's very kind of traditional style blues. You wouldn't go wrong to think of it as being similar to Delta blues. So the early stuff, what I think was the early stuff, like Robert Johnson and other people around that time. It consists of singing by Lonnie, a electric guitar played by Lonnie, and an acoustic guitar played by Elmer, and there's a bassist, and you can hardly hear the bassist, which is a shame, but he's really not the focus of what's going on here. Lonnie's singing is really good. So I've heard a lot of blues singers over the years, because blues is one of my go-to genres. And Lonnie actually sings more like a jazz singer, the kind of smooth voice that I was going to say, what's his name, Wonderful World, or Duke Ellington, or somebody like that. And some of them, the voices sound rough, but the singing is smooth, and it kind of slides between notes, and the expression is quite kind of loose, but very carefully controlled in that sense. It's so Lonnie's got a great voice, and I guess from this it's no surprise that actually he was billed as a singer, although his guitar playing is also pretty excellent. So the electric guitar, as I said, was Lonnie, the acoustic guitar is Elmer, and the playing accompanies the singing. Not all of the tracks have got singing, or there's sections that are instrumental sections, which is great. And they tend to have one of them soloing and the other one supporting whilst they're doing that. And they do this in a really good way. They're obviously good at playing alongside other people, and they're doing it in a way that supports each other. And it's just very nice, gentle, understated blues. It's mellow and it's subtle. The production on the album is excellent. I don't know if this is a remaster of any kind, but it's clear but warm, and it's just really kind of intimate, and I've got the phrase written down here, gently sophisticated, I think. And I would say this is great after dinner music. It's the sort of thing where you might have a little bit of something that you fancy to drink, and a friend that you've got, and maybe the sun's going down outside, and you're having a philosophical discussion, or even a political discussion, if you like. It's just great. I mean, I'd say it's background music. It doesn't have to be background music. It's just got that kind of mellow lounge feel to it. Yeah, so I really enjoyed it.
It rained 5 days. The skies turned black as night. It rained 5 days. The skies turned black as night.